when I began in science, the scientific world was totally different from the way it is now. Of course, government funding for universities was was arranged in a completely different way. In those days, the universities received their funding directly from the government, and this was distributed to different departments, and the different department heads distributed that money as they saw fit. The notion of writing a grant for something was almost unheard of, and for example, when I was an undergraduate at Sheffield, the professor of anatomy was rapped over the knuckles for writing a grant for an electron microscope. And this wasn't just Sheffield. A friend of mine at Oxford told the same story. He wanted to write a grant for a big piece of equipment and was taken quietly aside and told that this grant money was for people who didn't have any other money, and that if, as he worked at the University of Oxford, he should have asked Oxford first. So a well-organised head of department always had a bit of cash to fund experiments and people and students during the interim of their scholarship funding or something like that. And in fact, the other thing is that most of the experiments in those days weren't expensive. You didn't need high-tech apparatus in most cases. You didn't need to produce transgenic mice. Well, no one knew about that, of course. So a lot of the experiments probably cost just a few pounds to run. So a little bit of money went an awful long way in those days. The other thing is that there was a much stronger interest, I think, in science for its own sake in those days than there is today. When I went to the University of Bath, I was a bit shocked that no one within the university hierarchy, except obviously people in my own department, actually asked me how my research was going.